Hey YouTube, Mochismo Eugene, another video from Exit Strategy. Welcome. Well, let's talk about attention. Well, as we know, the narcissists are insatiable. There's never enough attention that they can get or you can give. It's never going to be enough. It's an addiction like no other. It's been said that the empath is the heroine and the narcissist is the addict, is the best way to look at it. And anyone you've known who's been addicted or is addicted to that type of drug, it takes the best of us down. So this is the best way to look at a narcissist. One's too many, thousands not enough, as they say in the AA communities. So I want to talk about attention and the insatiable need for attention. Be it that we know the narcissist is attention craved. Empaths, chosen ones, codependents, alike. Prior to us coming to this knowledge of narcissistic personality disorder, we too craved attention. Unbeknownst to us, it is exactly what made us a prime target for this type of abuse. Because we were unawares that it was something lacking in us subconsciously under the surface, or maybe it was very obvious that we had a craving of some sort for attention. We, as individuals who have endeavored in relationships, intimate partners, we obviously endeavored to have a person in our life that we thought completed us or complemented us. That is attention, a need for attention there. But doesn't make us a bad person because we sought that type of attention in a way that we thought was healthy. There's no reason to beat yourself up about that. But the thing is, what we didn't know that we do know now, and hopefully we don't repeat this again needlessly. I'm not saying we shouldn't aspire to have someone in our life, but it has to be a healthy approach. And each one of us has to understand what that healthy approach is. And I think the best way to find out what that healthy approach is spending time by yourself, giving yourself the attention that you need to become the healthiest person that you can be. Seeing what it looks like to be alone and to be healthy and to pay yourself attention on a very, very healthy basis. Learning to like yourself, appreciate yourself, and the things that you possess within you. Then you'll be able to recognize that that person that you're seeking or in search of or aspiring to be with is bringing that same energy into your space. That's a good starting point. But back to case in point, attention. Not only did the narcissist seek it, we did too. Now, with the newfound knowledge that we have of how these people operate, their attention-seeking, attention-starved desires are temporal and they're fleeting. They're not sustainable. Nothing that they try to ascertain is in their mind for the long haul. They're just springboarding one off of another in life. They're using people like springboards. And it's all a game. Just like in the bouncy house. When you go to the bouncy house, fun zone, Chuck E. Cheese, whatever kind of places you got like that, where the kids go in there, the bouncy houses. This is a good way to look at the narcissists. It's all amusement to them. And when it's time to go home, You ever try to get your kid out of one of those things? They could be exhausted. They could be exhausted. And you say, well, Johnny, it's time to go. All of a sudden, you'll see a newfound energy comes out of that child, almost demonic. They kick, scream, yell, cry, bite, bark. You almost don't even recognize your child. They become embarrassing. They just start acting out because they fret. Their fun is about to be taken away, even though they're exhausted and they need rest. This is the same as when you're dealing with a narcissist. They exhaust themselves trying to do this thing called supply seek, supply search and seizure. They're energy hoarders. They can go in a room and there's a room full of people, and if they can find the center, wherever there's the center of attention in that room, they'll go in there and they'll intercept that conversation. They'll become louder than the loudest person in the room to distract and detract away from what is going on. They're very disruptive because they can't regulate their emotions. When they see someone else having fun, it bothers them. The enviousness and the jealousy is in them is unquenchable. Let's seek to be not like that anymore. Your solitude is your sanctuary. If you never seek after God, seek solitude, and I'm sure somewhere in that solitude you'll find God. You'll discover God. Solitude is your sanctuary. This is not something I could see a year ago. Maybe even less. The time goes so quick. I don't count the time, I make the time count. That's what I used to say when I was in prison. This guy in prison, he used to write on the wall. He had marked calendar months. Had scribbled calendars in little squares on the brick wall inside of the cell. This guy must have had 7 calendar years marked out on the wall. And the deputies never told them to take it down. And in some cases, there'll be preferential treatment in prison. There'll be some inmates that can get away with stuff that you can't. So this guy had scribbled and X'd out 7 calendar years. And I went in and I say, what are you doing? He's like, yeah. It's like I marked it. He said, every year I'm counting down, man, to time I'm getting out of here. I forget how much time he had. Maybe 12 years, I don't know. But I was in prison with a lot of people that had life sentences. A couple guys had 2 life sentences. So to be put in an environment like that with 5 years, man, you really got to know how to move. But that's neither here nor there. But my point to that, with the guy marking on the wall, I was impressed to tell him what I just said. I said, man, are you counting the time in here? Are you trying to make the time count? And that means counting the time, and instead of making the time count, use every day to make what you want to be a reality in here. Live in here like you would if you were out on the street. And a lot of them guys look at me like I was crazy and saying, how can you do that when you're in prison? They won't let you do anything. I said, you got your free will, man. I said, they got rules in here. Learn to abide by them. And that way you'll be able to abide by the rules out there and the laws out there. These are just small stepping stones. And I didn't know at the time God was inspiring me in and of myself by paying attention to myself and thereby pouring into other people. And that's what sustained me in 20-something years of being out of that environment and sober for that many years as well. And so, case in point, guys, the attention we think that only the narcissist was insatiable about and addicted to, we too have to really, really monitor ourselves looking ahead as to how much we seem to be attention deprived, or we believe we are. And my biggest reason for coming back on top of that, telling you about this attention, is because I was looking at a story. I don't watch a lot of mainstream TV, if any. I use my television for a lot of YouTube, and I use YouTube extensively and exclusively, whereas I want to search in stories. And guys, I listen to stories that most people who are faint of heart would not be interested in, because you wouldn't be able to balance life after listening to some of the stuff that I deliberately search out in my life to understand. And that may be a lot of you guys might be wired like I am, and if you are, you know, the world needs a lot of us in the world to bring about change and be part of that change. For the ones who are faint of heart, we got you guys. Don't worry. We're all created uniquely different for the same purpose, be it for God. So this story is essentially, whereas, and a lot of you women and men here can relate, whether you have a porn addiction where you're going in there paying untold amounts of money for the attention and the pleasures that you're seeking, to pen paling a prisoner, if you're a female, pen paling a prisoner with maybe a life sentence, 10 years, and they're telling you all this stuff, having you believe that there's a future, when in most cases this is just manipulation of a prisoner that has a lot of time on his hand to craft and polish his manipulation. You being that woman out here in society that has all the hustle and bustle and the woes of life, bills, responsibilities, unlike this inmate, they have time on their hands to craft and think of manipulative tactics. Now, I'm saying this case in point because this YouTube story is essentially a woman that over time got about, I'm just going to go a ballpark, I would say $50,000, maybe even $100,000 of her income extracted through essentially a scheme. This individual was catfishing her. And you guys have heard stories of catfish. They even have a series on catfishing, cheaters, and all of this. See, all of this stuff gets sensationalized in society, man. And I'll give you a case in point as well. You could be one of those people who have been catfished and has given money over to porn sites willfully. I've been guilty of the porn sites and contributing to that. Not gonna front on that. So I'm more than aware of how that goes. And it becomes an addiction. And it's just because of the attention seeking that we seem to think we need. But back to the catfishing. This stuff is sensationalized. It's televised, sensationalized, thereby becoming normalized. You could be very, very much one of those people that has been catfished, watching the very shows that has crippled your finances, or it's crippled you psychologically, thinking that you're talking to a man and you're actually talking to a woman, and vice versa. And you can't tell anybody because you're ashamed, nor do you think it's even relevant or pertinent for them to know. So you keep it a secret, and thereby your attention-seeking, attention-starved, attention-deprived self becomes more and more of that. It goes from one attention-seeking thing to the next. It could be a gambling addiction at the casino. You have to go pull slots. You have to go to the poker table. This is where the significance, you believe, comes in at. get to rub shoulders with all your poker friends, losing money, right and left. I'm going to encourage you guys, after a narcissistic abusive relationship, you don't need to have any of these addictions in your life. And this is no judgment zone here, but this is actually just pulling the cover off of all the things that we would rather keep hidden. This is the only way that you're going to ever actually elevate in a real way. You have to scrutinize, introspect. You have to critically think about some of the things that you're doing in your life that are taking and distracting away from you becoming okay with yourself. We're in an age where everything is meant to distract and medicate. It's illusions, man. And so this lady essentially gave a lot of money away. And what was so heartbreaking was when these investigator guys, independent, they're not even in law enforcement, although they reached out to law enforcement. And to listen to that call, the one guy say, blah, 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 this lady's being scammed. To hear these police, law enforcement entities pretty much just dismiss this and blow it off, it was heart-wrenching because I'm dealing with that in family court as well. You know, this is not to demean or disparage law enforcement, because we're living in humanity where people can't monitor and manage themselves. That is because of the sin-sick society we live in. It's not going to change. But with that being said, we hold people in these positions, we hold them in high esteem when in fact they are in many cases the bigger part of the problem. Because they've learned to mimic and they've mastered the art of changing the narrative. Saying what they want to say, but not hearing what is so brutally honest and truth. And when you sound or you seem like you're giving them truth, not only do they dismiss it, they denounce it, and they try to mute you. So this lady got over X amount of thousands of dollars extracted from her, but it was heart-wrenching once they came and collaborated with her, gave her all types of evidence that this was a general in the U.S. military that was retired. That was actually the picture that was given to her under the illusion that this was the guy she was actually talking to. And when they showed her that this guy's never seen you, he's never talked to you, this is another guy that's doing this and he's using this guy's picture, and she was like, can I just call this general and he can speak to me? That way it'll help me understand and believe it. Case in point, this woman had all the evidence that anyone could need to believe that she had been duped. And again, we can relate when we come out of a narcissistic abuse relationship. That is one of the biggest hurdles to overcome, to accept that we got conned. But that's at the same time, that's the most beautiful place to be once you understand it for what it is and you accept that, hey, me and my attention needing self, whether it was on the extreme spectrum or you just kind of wanted somebody to be in your life and you took them at face value. You're not a bad person for that. But the only point I'm making here is in how you needed that attention. Give yourself the attention that you so richly need and you so richly believe that you deserve. And you noticed I kind of was hesitant about using the word deserve, because we really, in many cases, believe we deserve things that we don't. We don't believe we deserve to have the things that we have at the hands of the narcissist, but we can believe we deserve better than what the narcissist gave us. Okay, if you believe the latter, then go get busy. A narcissist came into your life to bless you. Their intentions were to curse you, but God used it as a blessing take it for what it is. And that is exactly what it is. If you're listening to me, you're on the other side of that. You're the few, the chosen, that made it out. There are people here that, there are people that don't exist anymore, that are gone to the other side, that don't know what you know. They didn't get to know. And there are people that are yet alive that are being destroyed at the hands of these narcissists that don't know what you know. That is why you came out of it, for those people. And you've also came out of it for the people coming along that they can know before they'd even get to the point of being destroyed. Hebrews 13 or 15 chapter talks about heroes of the faith. It essentially says, we who labored not, we are basically reaping the benefits of something we did not work for. So men before us have opened the door of wisdom and knowledge and insight, so we don't have to repeat the sins and go through the things in which they experienced. We know. So in knowing, we have to show what we know. So bear in mind, guys, that is a very fundamental part of getting healed and going to the other side of your healing. You have to understand that we too were attention deprived individuals in times past. We felt like we needed to be needed, but we don't. All you have to do is just understand that you have to pay yourself attention in a very healthy way, and that will aid you in determining whether a person around you or in your life is somewhat of a similar vibration and on the similar level. Otherwise, you're going to have to cease and desist. Okay, guys, have a wonderful Thursday. Bless.